the Summer Davos Forum ongoing right here in Tianjin. And today we are going to talk about innovation, and it's really a broad topic, but we are going to break down in details with you guys. And today we are very glad to be joined by Biman and Vika. Could you guys briefly introduce yourself?
So my name is Biman. I'm from Sri Lanka originally, been in China for the past 16 years, and I'm the curator for Beijing Global Shapers Beijing 2 Hub in 2019-2020 era. Yeah.
My name is Victoria, and thank you for having us today. I am Chinese-Russian, and I am the current curator for 4 more days of Global Shapers Beijing 2 Hub, and I also do my day-to-day work in education, cross-cultural education. So really happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeah, and both of you are from the Global Shapers community. Could you tell us briefly what that is?
So Global Shapers community is the initiative, it's a network. It's an initiative by World Economic Forum, a network of young people to bring young leaders together to bring local impact and at the same time scale it at the global arena. And right now, since its founding, since 2011, there are more than 500 hubs across the world, and there are more than 10,000 shapers that are part of it. So we're part of Beijing Hub too.
Yeah, and that gathers many innovative people, right? And both of you also have your own businesses. So is there a aha moment that just inspires you to be innovative and to start your own business? What about you?
My day-to-day job is I'm a scientist. So I work in AI, artificial intelligence. So I've been a scientist with multiple patents and doing on innovation for a very long time in China. So the aha moment is like, whenever there is a complex problem, and then in order for you to just kind of create like, this leap in difference, like I would say like, when you see a problem that is really big, and then in my case, it was depression and anxiety. Second thing is that there's like a breakthrough technology that is like, enable you to just kind of create like a radical solution. Yeah. So that's how like, I put innovation together where that you find that sweet spot in between. So as a scientist, like, the aha moment comes in that when everything starts making sense in terms of...
when everything starts making sense, for example,
so
like
you're
what?
running a company, right? So in the end of the day, it's a business venture. So you need to be able to create unit economics, like in a way that you have a very complex problem, you are solving in a very creative way, but at the same time, the solution needs to be sustainable. So that is where like, the business metric comes in, or else like, the unit economics come in. So when everything makes sense is that like, you are solving as a problem as a founder, and you feel extremely joyful about it.
Yeah.
And you are very mindful while doing it, so that you're not cutting corners to be able to like generate value and impact. Yes. And then the last part is that like, if you're fundraising, your investors are happy. and also you're not living under the table for a living. So that way I think when everything is in harmonious, right? When you wake up in the morning and you go to a job or work that you really love, and then you come back to a person that you really care about. And I think that's life in the most brief essence way.
Yeah, just like what Confucius said, like do the thing you love, and then you don't like working anymore.
Yeah, not a single day.
Yeah. And what about you, Vika?
Well, so my day-to-day job is running an organization called Scholar Network, and I would say the values are very similar to what we do at Global Shapers community, where we connect young leaders coming from the region of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And for me, all of my aha moments have to do with people. When we run a project and then somebody, after like Model SEO, one of our flagship projects, they prepare for 2 months, they work on position papers, everything, all of the Chinese students, everything is in English. And then after the conference, they send messages where they say, oh, that was one of the greatest moments, and I learned so much, and I was so nervous, but then at the end, they performed really well. So the feedback from people and from students is just the best aha moments. And these are the moments where we're like, okay, we're doing something right. We're on the right track.
Yeah, we'll be very satisfied like about you can help people, right?
Yes, it's all about human connection.
Yes. And also, you guys have much job experiences. So could you share with us some like example of what innovation means to you in your career development?
What does innovation mean to me in my career development? I would say like innovation means everything, because the reason is that we live in a very fast moving world. Right now, if you look at technologies, which sector that I'm from, it changes every day, so that you need to be extremely resilient, and then also like, you know, have a very curious, open mindset around how to adopt whatever the best thing that is outside. And then it looks like you never stop learning, right? So we are in a continuous, like, you know, learning journey. So in career development, being innovative means like, you know, sometimes you can be extremely overwhelmed, like, you know, with how the world is moving faster. You can say that we are not Google, we are not Microsoft, we are not Baidu or Tencent, right? We are a very small company. Like at the same time, we need to be competitive as they are, because we both are trying to generate value to the same society, same people, everyone at the same time. So I think being innovative is that, like, you know, to find the areas that are overlooked, find niches that need serving. So being innovative is also not only about, like, you know, doing some breakthrough problem solving. It's about, like, you know, finding people who can do breakthrough problem solving also. So it's like you go to a big company and you convince someone with so much experience to be able to come on board with you to work on a social problem. Or else, like, you know, you go to a person who's at high caliber and then, like, you know, you talk to them about, like, would you like to invest in something that, like, makes sense for the entire world. So I think innovative is just, like, you know, having courage to be able to take bold decisions, and at the same time I would say that, like, inspire not only everyone else around you, inspire yourself within also. Because it's really easy to give up, like, in this world right now, because as all of us know, it's not a really easy time to live, because there's a lot of pressure for young people, I would say, to be able to be successful quickly. So you need to be able to be extremely innovative on your daily life to be able to just get through the day. I'm not even talking about, like, you know, being innovative about building a business. It's like how can I read more books? How can I just have time to cook? How can I have, like, you know, very good time to sleep? So you need to be very innovative about finding and making sure that you have enough time to do things that you really love to do, and then that makes you a better person, I would say. And
that's a very good point, because like find innovation inside yourself. I know that you're also a lover for meditation, right? I heard that you can meditate for like 18 hours.
18 hours?
Share with us your experience. That's so amazing. And how that helps you to become more innovative.
I think it's like, you know, everyone is talking about ChatGPT, right? So been talking about AI for a long time.
I think you're doing both, right?
Yes.
One side very scientific, and then the other more about psychology.
I brought ChatGPT into the equation is that, so the reason why all these things are possible is because of one paper that was written in 2017 called "Attention is All You Need," right? So it's basically what it means is, like, you know, you look at one place, you learn what needs to get learned, and you forget what is not important. So that's how, like, you know, these language models, like, learn. So we call it LLMs, or large language models. How they do it is, like, when you have like information coming in, the model looks at the part that requires learning and then forgets about the part that is not there. So when you become mindful, like meditation is like that, right? So meditation is not like you are closing your eyes and then you just, like, tell your brain that I don't want any thoughts in my head.
Yes, that's always a question for me too. Like, so many people said, like, you just don't think anything, but it's just tough. And some people say that, like, you can imagine you are lying on the beach and the sea and the ocean. What's your way of doing it? So
meditation is like, you know, you let everything come into your head, but you don't engage with anything. So which is like,
it's like you're an observer.
Like cloud passing by.
Cloud passing by. You just you don't enjoy it. You just, like, let all the thoughts appear in your head, but you decide not to engage with anything. So when you have that state of mind, you slowly build up clarity in your head, and then you can be your own GPT. Where that when you talk to someone,
one of my takeaways today.
So that's the thing, right? Like, when you talk to someone, you become extremely mindful. So it's not like, you know, Nisubian Shoha, right? Like, you just, whatever comes to your head, you don't say. So that you always be mindful about, like, you know, how you interact with the world, I would say. So that's what I said. Like, when you are very attentive about yourself, how you feel inside, and then what's going outside, then you become extremely calm, and then you become extremely responsible in how you react.
Yes, and just like Biman said, like innovation is not just like 随便说话. There are many random thoughts that we have every day.
Yeah.
So how did you decide like which one of the thoughts that can really make into something to make into an innovation, Vika?
Good question. So I think for me, it's everything has to do with time. And we were just discussing this concept with Biman yesterday, because everybody only has 24 hours.
Yeah.
And what I constantly think about is, yes, we all have different backgrounds, we all have different education, we all have different aspirations. But then within 24 hours, people are able to create different things at a different scale.
Yeah.
So to me, having thoughts is one part, but the ability to filter it comes with a discipline. And creating discipline, not only for myself, but also for the team that I work with, no matter whether in the capacity as a leader or as a team member, is extremely important. Because there are a lot of projects that we can take. But then we choose to take only a few because we only have 24 hours, right? So we have to think, we have to think the projects that we already taken, how can we save our time so we dedicate less time to a certain project and we make it as automated as possible so we can dedicate more time to something else. And for me, this is how I filter it out. And I think also adding on top of the well-being and mindfulness part, I figure out that sometimes it's not just about sitting and meditating. It's also about doing things that you really like, and if you're really present in the moment, then it's another state of meditation, right? It's the flow that we're constantly trying to achieve.
Yes, that's a very good point too. So many people are talking about like find the things that you really like, and you can be very innovative. But do you have any tips to share with our audience, like how to find the things that you really like? It's just actually a very tough question, right?
So I am extremely happy that you asked this question.
Oh, really? Yeah, come share with us.
Yeah, the reason is that, like, you need to have an extremely open mind, and at the same time, second thing is that when you're at a mindful state, all you can decide either to see problems or solutions.
Yes.
Right. So innovation comes where that every single problem you see, you find a solution on that point. So it's extremely interesting. Why I told you it's extremely interesting that you asked me this question is that innovation is like, another word, right? It's another concept. So tomorrow we can come up with another word, right? Like, all these words are also limiting us.
Yes.
So the most important word what we need is like, be inspired by everyone, everything, all at once. It's like you get out of like, your house, you can be inspired by the random strangers that you meet at the road. You can go and buy your breakfast and you look at a small business like some wonderful Chinese vendor is selling jumping, right? You don't always need to get inspired by like, big companies. Like you can be inspired by small things, little things, right?
Yes.
And then when you try to build that in your DNA, that I'm gonna learn something. Everyone is there to teach me a lesson. Everyone is crossing my path to just like do something. And then I think like the second part of this question is that like I really love this Chinese word called wu wei.
Oh, wu wei, yes.
From Lao Tzu.
Yes.
So it's like, because I am a surfer, I surf, right? So the best surfers are the ones that when they go to the ocean, right? They first pick the beach that is like matches their skill level, right? And then only thing you need to do is just stand up on the boat, and then you already have that skill. So the best surfers are the ones who are not very tired catching every wave. They are the ones who are in the ocean waiting for the right wave.
Just let it flow.
And then they just need to stand up, right? So that way, like, when you are walking around your daily day, you can be inspired by everything, right? Then you can pick what you engage with. And when you do that, most of the time, it's pretty good outcome, because the reason is that you are fully present in every conversation. You're very fully present with every interaction. So that innovation is something that is not thought out and planned. It's something that happened because you are an innovative person yourself. It's not a class, it's not a book, it's not a program. It's that you need to be innovative within, so that when you see a problem, your mind would see like a solution that a lot of people don't see as a conflict or like, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, true. And it's true, like Wu Wei, many of my foreign friends really love this. And one of my friends worked in an ambassador, even named his Chinese name into Wu Wei. Yeah, it's like the concept of like 天时地利人和, right timing, right place, right people.
Yes.
Right,
yeah, and
exactly.
just do what you can and then just let things flow.
Yes.
And what about Vika? What you want to share with us? Like how to find the things that you really enjoy and be innovative.
I think one of the concepts is to think about it from a content creation perspective, because when we have a conversation on content creation, we think, okay, what is it there that you can do every single day and not feel tired by doing it?
Yes.
And if there's one thing that you can be working on and really feeling, okay, there's something else, there's more that I can do, I think that's one direction. And another is the concept of problem solving. So what is one problem that you can't even sleep unless you find the solution or you see the solution to it? That's another thing, right? Because sometimes we see problems that are not really, not actual problems, or there's a very small population that needs a solution for that.
Yes.
So I guess combining your passion and combining actual problems and making the analysis is one part. But then something that I actually wanted to share is the fact that even if we find something that we really like, and I enjoy my work a lot, on a day-to-day basis, it's still going to become a routine.
Yes.
And there will still be tasks that you will not like, and there's still tasks that are a bit mechanical, that are possible to somehow organize or not, and it's totally fine. Because at the end of the day, when you always have a purpose and you have this flow, then you know where you're going with it.
Yes.
So I think this is really important. And just trying, right? I feel that a lot of people, especially at the young age, 21, right, 22,
Yes.
like, I have to find my purpose in life.
Yes.
And just do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, they may even like didn't start it yet.
Exactly, but it's not the case, right? Because if you can try, you can fail, learn, and then you try again and try something new. Gary Vee is somebody who really inspires me a lot with his podcast, because he started what he's doing now at the age of 33. And before that, he was just building a liquor store for his dad. So like entrepreneurs like that also inspire you a lot on a daily basis.
Yes, true.
And just not being afraid to take decisions to be responsible for what you are doing and responsible for your actions, especially at the age where you can afford doing that.
Yes, true. And Biman, what did you do before your own business, and what inspires you to like do something else?
So before my business, I was actually working at Microsoft, like Microsoft Research, like basically in Chungwonsun. So it's a big company and an amazing company where that gives you a lot of learning opportunities, like, and then you become disciplined, you become a good engineer, and then once you do that, then you just realize also what is your calling in a way. And most of the time for me, the calling was I want to be free and I want to be able to create consistently at my own capacity. And also, like, I come from Sri Lanka, right? I come from a very small country, and then I always want to give back to where I come from, right? So the fun part is that I've spent more time in China than I've spent time in Sri Lanka. So there's also another
We're local now.
Yes, there's a Chinese saying called Renzana Jiazanara. So my people are in Beijing, so my home is Beijing, right? So it's, for me, I see problem as not country specific, not gender specific, no race specific. So if kids are depressed in Sri Lanka, they're depressed. If the kids are depressed in China, they're depressed. So as a scientist, you need to find a solution that helps everyone globally. So when you look at poverty, when you look at all these problems that are like universal, right? So I'm a person who loves universal problems, not I call it 1% universal problems. Like, you know, basically the problems that are problems worth solving,
Yeah.
So, you know that TED says ideas we are sharing, right? So the same way the concept of problems worth solving is that there are certain problems that we just like say that it's not big enough. So that like, you know, there's no business model behind it, or like, you know, and then we are like, yeah, it's a problem. Like we'll take care of like some other day, right?
Okay.
When we are ready.
Okay.
So when in big companies, what happens is like, you know, for entrepreneurs that who have like extreme curiosity, just because you need to run a business, most of the time those niches are not extremely considered. So I've always been a niche person. So the reason that why I came out from like, you know, structure and started like, you know, doing my own thing is because I want to spend more time looking at problems that have been forgotten by people, or else like, you know, they're not a problem yet. But that's where also the monetary opportunities or like, you know, the value is that you try to see problems that will be big problems in 10 years or 20 years, right? So as young people, I would love that innovation comes from day one, where that innovation is not about solving present problems. It's like you need to transport yourself into the next 10 years or 20 years and see how does the world going to be looking like in 20 years, in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you need to come back today and then see like what I can do to stop that happening from in 20 years.
Yes.
So for me, I'm a very optimistic, kind, happy person, but at the same time, I'm a very realist person.
Yeah.
So the way that young people are right now with all the stress, unlimited pressure on their shoulders, I don't see a joyful place being in the next 20 years. I feel like everyone is going to be extremely depressed or anxious around how things are going. So we can see it very clearly, the way that how the birth rates are declining, right? So no one wants to have family because they think having a family is like, you know, too much stress.
Yeah.
So what I can do now is that if that thing is going to be a huge problem in the next 20 years, let's figure out an innovative way of solving it.
Yes.
Like, you know, today. So the reason, again, circling back into your original question, is that like, if your current job is not allowing you to be innovative or creative inside that work scope from 9 to 5, you just need to know how to do what you should do after 5.
Yes.
So Global Shapers is an excellent example for that, is because we are an impact-driven volunteer organization, which means all of us has day jobs. But we try to figure out that how we can take 2 hours and squeeze it into our very busy schedule and try to meet physically every other week and work on problems in Beijing. So it's interesting is because most of us are foreigners.
Yeah.
So our hub is a Beijing 2 hub, which means like the problems that we are solving, or else like, you know, the events that we are doing is for Beijing community. So it's not for the Russian community, or it's not for the Japanese community, or like Sri Lankan community. It's for the Beijing community. So it's very interesting that a diverse group of people coming from different cultures, different education systems, different belief systems come together and look at how can we do impact in our outside work scope and be committed to it, be extreme, having high integrity to be able to complete it, having so much passion to be able to finish and see it through. And I think that is another way. It's like if your current process does not allow you to...
if you're not that satisfied, you may find
something with the next 5 hours that you have before you sleep.
To make changes. Yes. And you guys both mentioned like discipline and freedom. They are different things, but they are actually both important in terms of innovation. How do you see them, like what role they play? Or you have to be disciplined first, and then after like many experiences gained, and then you can maybe someday become innovative?
I think the freedom and discipline, you put it interesting together, but it's like yin and yang. It's so integrated.
Tai Chi, right? Like at the forum too, they have like practicing Tai Chi.
Yes, every morning.
Yeah.
So it's the two concepts are integrated into each other, because only with the discipline you can have the freedom to spend time on what you really like and what you really want to do.
Yes.
And again, if you schedule everything in the sense that, okay, there's things that I have to do and I dedicate time for that, but there's also time that I dedicate for my creative or innovative part of the day, right? And it's also from the scientific perspective, it's important to do it during certain periods of time, depending on what kind of person you are, right? And for some people, it comes in the morning. For others, it's late afternoon. So if you use science to to boost your creativity and
Yeah.
innovation, then innovation will come. Because creativity and innovation are slightly different, right? And that would be my take on it.
Yeah. What about Biman?
I would say flow. That's the only 4-letter word I think would explain this
Yeah.
really well. So
Yeah.
be in flow. So when you are in flow, what happens is that you have the highest capacity in your mind to be able to get something done the quickest way with the clearest solution.
Yeah.
So that can be 5 minutes, that can be 10 minutes, so that
Yeah.
you need to be extremely disciplined to be able to do that when you're in flow. Like, which is something that comes to you when you are slowly trying to understand what it is. I would
Yeah.
say that you first start from like, you need to understand what are the two main things about this word. First word is like, freedom. And then freedom is a sense of like, it's different for everyone. What is freedom? Is it like, I don't have a job, or like, I'm like thumping, right? I
Yeah.
just don't do anything. Or else like, freedom can be like, freedom of choice, right? When you have like 100 options in front of you, you have the freedom to choose what you decide to do with that option. So it's very different. And then the second thing is like, when you're choosing both, you need to be extremely innovative also. It's just because we are a very curious species, we can be bored very easily, right? And when you become a routine, when you start like a disciplined routine, sometimes like, routine is also not the best, because like the most of the amazing ideas at Google came from the break times.
Yeah.
When you're doing something and you're having a different conversation.
Yes, many of
and you
those
have
brilliant ideas
like, came in a spark, right?
Yeah.
So most of the time, if you look at the history of innovation, all the scientists actually like, figured out the most amazing things by accident. I'm like, of course, you can tell a story after that how brilliant I was when I was finding it, but the reality is not that, right? The reality is like, that it came to you in most the dumbest way, right?
Yeah.
But
did you find your like brilliant idea to start your business
yes,
by
like,
accident? What
there
was
are
that?
some ideas like, I think I found it like, by accident. It's like, I would say magnets are my favorite things, right? So that when I build wearables, like, all these, like, so I built 2 purification masks, like air purification masks. I have a Red Dot Design Award, and then we have 15 patents on this like type of products. So when you build like this type of wearables, you always need to figure out like, how to put them together, right? So then you need to like, you talk with your industrial engineers. They're like, let's make a very complicated structure, put it like and stuff. And then you talk with your finance team. They're saying like, this mold is Thai-Goela, like, this too expensive, we can't do. And then you're just like walking and opening your fridge like magnets. So then just like, all of a sudden, like all your cost becomes half. So that way I think like, that's the inspiration, right? So the innovative idea came because like, you're always thinking about the problem, and the whole world around you is there to inspire. But you need to be extremely attentive to learn from that and forget about from everything else.
Yes,
but
that's how you get into flow too,
exactly.
Right?
And then if you put yourself pressure saying that I need to find this idea, I need to find a new idea before 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? I need to solve this problem before 3 o'clock.
We never do that.
If you know that. So that right now what happens is like, when you're working at an environment where that is not innovative friendly, which is not bringing out the best in you, it has just tight deadlines. Like you have to work really hard. You need to find this answer before 4 o'clock, otherwise you're a bad person, or like you're a very bad employee. So then all these people are like putting so much stress in their head, try to be innovative fast.
Yeah.
And they don't let the ideas come to you, they run for the ideas. Then what happens? When you run, the world becomes blurred, then you have less attention. So that's why you need to walk so that you can see everything clearly, so that you give the world the chance to be able to inspire you from every single line and turn. Then you become innovative naturally.
Yes, if you want to be fast, take it slow.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's a good part.
Yes. And, China's capability of innovation only ranked the 14th in the world, far behind many developed countries. You guys all have like study experiences or working experiences abroad. So how do those schools innovate their students? Are there any things that really impressed you?
Well, abroad as in China?
No, I mean like, yeah, you got it.
Well, I think what's really, well, first of all, what is the metric, right, for you to compare the innovation? And when we do that, do we look at the history of country's development? Do we look at the history of how the country came to the point of where they are right now? And I think Biman has more to say on that take, so I'll be brief. But I think when it comes specifically to China, what's really impressive and something that no one else can do is the ability to learn. Chinese learn really fast, and through learning, then first step is in learning, and the second step is on improving. And with the current, at least from what I've seen, with the current growth of the development in terms of technology in China, it only took a few years for Chinese companies to grow really big and learn from the best experiences and then innovate based on the needs of the local and global and international market. So yeah, people always say that Chinese learn really fast and are really hardworking. I think that's the main driving force. It all comes back to people at the end of the day. To me, like everything that we do, everything that we see, it all comes back to people, human connection, and how somebody interacted and then had ideas and then found a solution.
Yeah. What about you, Biman?
So China does innovation at scale.
Yeah.
Right? That is like very different from going back to what Vikas said about like, what was the metric that you used to measure? Who's the number one? Who's number two? Is it number of papers are you publishing? Is the number of patents are you filing? So these are usually the metrics that usually people use to just say that how innovative are you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have ChatGPT right now. You can write a paper every hour if you want. You can automate innovation because these fundamental metrics that we are using to measure how innovative two countries are so primitive. So I believe that like, right now we are at an era that we need to measure innovation from the amount of impact it creates to the society. And the second thing is like, can you do sustainable innovation? It's not you build an innovative product today and the company is going to die tomorrow, right? It's about like how many lives are you touching? So for example, like, I don't know whether I can tell about company names. If you say that like, like any live streaming company in China, they did a business model innovation, which is that there's a farmer, which is like, some very far away place that who has good products, right? That maybe I've seen like, a lot of like, these aunties live streaming or from like these rural villages, like, selling like, oranges,
rural
right?
visualization, that's really popular.
And then you have like, logistic companies making sure that when you put an order that comes to your house, that is farm to table, where the farm is very far away.
Yes.
And innovation is that where like, from my point of view, the best innovations that I've seen are where that you solve problems where that there is a win-to-win into both parties.
Yes.
If you ask me, out of all the products and all the things I've seen in this world, what is the most innovative product is like actually a book. So what happens is like, there's a phone number that is printed in the behind the book, right? So any illiterate mom can go to a library. A mom who can't read the book can go to a library.
Equal opportunity.
Yes. You can take the book, go to a free phone, dial this toll-free number, and there's a grandmother or a grandfather in another elderly home that would read the book to your kid over the phone.
Wow.
So there's like, what you had to do was not $1 billion problem. Just write a number in the back of a book where that there's a lonely person who loves family, but they don't have that ability. And there's like a kid who's driving for education, and there's a mom who's helpless.
Yes.
So for me, innovation is impact in that way. So when you say that, is it a big business model? Do they have patents? Have they published a paper? Those innovations don't apply into that metric of that when you say that 1 versus 14, right? So there are so many stories like, where that in China that I've seen that China is an extremely innovative country, but I'm not saying that it's the only innovative country.
Yeah.
So the thing is that when you do innovation with purpose, that's a very important thing that we need to really consider. China does innovation at scale for purpose, which is that making sure that entire country comes above poverty line, right? Every single kid can have education, right? So when everyone is like, equal and everyone has access for everything, then what happens? Then what happens is like, you can think about the next level of innovation. But if you look at the other countries just per se, right, there's a huge boundary between who can go to MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, right, versus like, who can't go, right? So in the end of the day, like, innovation has a huge gap. Like, some people have access to education, some people don't. But at the same time, those countries create like open courseware. They make sure that the courses are on YouTube. They make sure that, like, there's internet packages that you can watch it for free.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not saying that it's a black and white thing, right? But you need to be, I always say that it's called conscious innovation, that whoever the person is innovating need to be like, conscious enough to create an accessibility layer.
Yeah.
It's from a point of view, it's innovation for all.
Yes.
So so China is a country where that, like, I see as it's innovation for all, but you need to work really hard.
Yes.
Why? Is because this is the largest country with so many people, right? So that it's not like, you can think about China in a very simple way. But when you look at like a country like Sri Lanka, right, we have to innovate because otherwise we don't exist. So we are small, right? So like, for example, when pandemic happened to Sri Lanka or like, the countries outside, like below the equator, all of a sudden the supply chain was broken, right? Now the people in the local communities had to build masks. They had to build testing kits. They had to build like, face shields from whatever they find. So you might have seen like people cut files and like, put it like, there, the doctors and like, the nurses had to be innovative because there's a people problem. People are dying in front of you. There's no option other than being innovative.
Yes.
So I think innovation from me is that then YouTube, what did YouTube do? People who are solving a problem in Argentina or people who are solving a problem in Angola, people who were doing it in China, they started creating content. This is how to make a mask. This is how to make a testing kit. This is how to make a face shield. And people started learning and sharing ideas across.
Yes.
So innovation is like that. When you do innovation at scale, when you make impact at scale, that's the reason that we are representing Global Shapers organization, which is our group. We are not talking on behalf of like, how amazing my company is at like, innovation. We are talking about like, we are a group of young people coming together for the World Economic Forum, trying to talk with each other and try to figure out like, how can we be innovative at scale?
Yes.
There's so many learnings from every single person who have come here. And they solve problems uniquely in their own way. So there's a lot China need to learn. There's always a lot China can give back. So that's why we are here today to discuss about this.
Yes, just like you said, China has also been putting efforts into like increasing the rate of scientific product transformation. Because like many scientific research, to make them into the products launched into the market, it really depends on how large the market demand is. It's not like you just have to be innovative, but you have many like different types of the products that may not really need, even if you are innovative,
Yes.
right?
Yes, true.
Yes, that's the point. And also, how do you think those young people, especially like in China, the employment rate, many people are discussing about that.
Yeah.
When they are looking for a job, what are some tips for you to like how can help them be innovative and find the job that they like?
Well, the unemployment issue is a big topic right now in China. And from what I remember, there will be around 30 million graduates this year.
Yes.
Which is huge.
The highest one.
Yeah, it's just going up. And I think when people think about career, one way is, of course, to continue your academia, which is something that I see a lot of people are choosing, at least from the provinces that we're working with. But another way is to think not from the employee perspective, but think from the ideas that you really want to implement into life. And I know that universities right now, Tsinghua was one of the first universities that started an accelerator program, and then other universities also have it. So one way is to use the current resources that you have within the universities, and also each province, each region, Beijing, Chaoyang, Daxing, right? Everybody has their own programs. To use those acceleration programs, and use the mentorship and other resources that are available to start thinking about your idea. And then the second one is to, I know that Chinese people, students, a lot of them are looking for stability versus what I really want to do. And for me, I would encourage going for what you really want to do, even though it will mean a bigger risk, higher risk. or it would mean more work, because it's really hard for us to get outside of the bubble that we are really comfortable in. And what the work that, at least the way I think about my work is, okay, how do you make a bubble bigger? How do you make it bigger? At least you're 30% uncomfortable and 70% comfortable, so you can increase the area of work, of impact, and of what you're doing, and of people that you're talking to. And then the third one will be in learning the language.
Yeah.
This.
And also, like,
especially
English. How
English.
to encourage yourself to go into a bigger bubble.
You know, at this AMNC summit, at some point, I realized, being 95% extroverted person, at least through MBTI, at some point I became so introverted, because you feel almost scared by looking at 1,000 people chatting there, talking, and approaching them. Yeah. But then, one conversation at a time. You reach out to one person, and everybody's very welcoming. Everybody comes from an amazing background in terms of what they do and the impact that they've created. So everybody is here for a reason, including ourselves. Yeah. And at the first orientation session that we had with Global Shapers community, the Global Shapers team told us, you're representing the Global Shapers community. You're here for a reason. Represent yourself, right? You don't need to be there and saying, hey, I'm trying to be amazing. We're just be ourselves. And I think for fresh graduates, this is something that we all need to remember about, because fresh graduates, you have your own perspective because of your age, because of what you do and what you like. And you know what others, you'll definitely find people who have the same set of values and beliefs. And at the same time, always living with the sense that I can learn from every single person. And every single conversation is a learning process. And this is what we've experienced in these days by having these conversations on the bus, at the counter, in the forum. So yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned university experiences. So to boost innovation, how do you think education system can better support that?
I think it's happening right now already, at least from what I've seen with the Chinese universities. So beyond the curricular that you have to do, there is also a bunch of opportunities, and you can do different type of activities. You go to other countries, and then you go for internship, and the university is helping you in that. So I think this is one way. Another way is to run courses. So Tsinghua had a course that I joined. One was on Silicon Valley, and another one was on China, also 中国洞察. So the entire course was just visit to different companies. But every single visit, we had a conversation with the top management of the company. And this is the best way to learn and to educate people to be prepared for the real world out there, is to connect them with those who are making the decisions in those companies. So I think if universities in more provinces will have those type of curricular, that would be really helpful for students and for the companies who are constantly looking for talents.
Yes, and also interns, right?
Not just interns, full-time as well. Yeah. And right now there are programs called 养培生, right? So when you go, you after graduation, you go to a company, and then you spend 3 months or 2 months in different departments,
and then
training, and then you get to know, what do I want to do?
Yes, and Biman, what do you think?
I think, like, there's a huge confusion with skills and then mastery of tooling. Like, because people say, like, I'm really good at Python, I'm really good at coding. That's not a skill. That is just like a tool, right?
Yeah.
So when you confuse these two, right? Like when
how do you separate what is a tool and what is a skill?
So it's like, a skill is problem solving. You can use a tool to do that, right? Like, for example, like, you want to communicate what global debt crisis is, right? You can use a tool like PowerPoint to make a PowerPoint, right? So like literally that's the thing. But the skill is like, communication, right? Like, and then, or else like, the skill is when you say like problem solving, is that the company has a problem. Let's say it can be a coding problem, it can be a business problem. You use a tool to solve it. So the thing is that the mastery of the tool is extremely important, but it's not just learning how to use the tool. It's like the fundamentals of the tool, because the tool can change. Right now, you don't need to like learn how to use PowerPoint. You can ask ChatGPT to make you a PowerPoint. Right? So the later on, it's going to be always communication interfaces, right?
Yeah.
You see, in Iron Man, Tony Stark is like not writing code, right? He's asking Jarvis to write code for you. Right?
Yeah.
So this is the world that we are going into, where that most of the work processes are going to be automated. So what you need to know is that what you need to do in order to achieve the result. So your management would tell like, here's a problem, here's the format I need the solution, and then can you do it? You say yes, you can use whatever you want to be able to get there. So the person who has a mastery of skill set, they can get there faster. People that who are middle average, maybe they get there slower, right? But the employee accept you to solve a problem, not create a problem.
Yes.
So most of the time what's happening is that most of the people who are joining a company, they're like, this is not belong to me. This is not my department.
Yeah.
Right? This is like, I don't know how to make a video, right? I don't know how to do this. Sometimes like, you don't tell yourself that I can learn that, right? Or else like, there's a reason why this is getting asked for me, right? So I think the second thing I would say is like entitlement. Don't think that you are a newbie, right? Women do newbie. Those are like ordinary people, right? We have hopes, passions.
Yeah, stay humble.
Stay humble, stay grounded, stay humble. Is that there's a reason your boss is your boss, right? Because he might have spent maybe 20 years doing the same job.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you join a new company, we try not to look at the person. We try to look at the title that I have. And you feel like, I am so amazing. So when you become humble, what happens is like, how can I help? Because if this company survives, then I can have a salary, right? If that company, but if you keep on creating problems to the company, if you tell that like, I'm only doing this part because I need to have so much free time in my schedule, right? It's not the right attitude.
Yes.
So the second thing is that the reason why I gave a negative viewpoint is because Vika has been talking about the positive viewpoint about like, the job, right? And then we can't always be about unicorns and rainbows. Like the reality is that like, people are getting kicked out of companies because the economy is bad. Till today, I think there's close to 200,000 people get kicked out from tech companies in the world, right? And that means you have new graduates coming in. There are people that who already have left jobs. They're both competing for the same job, where the people that who left the job have enormous amount of more skill set than a fresh graduate.
Yeah.
But they're competing for the same job.
Yes.
Right? So then you are not competing with your peers. You're competing with someone who has 10 years experience than you. So then obviously it's going to create like, this depressive environment that like, am I good enough, right? So the best way to be good enough is that at an interview, show that you're good enough by just doing, which is like, here's a problem, here's my solution.
Yes.
Always do a little bit extra and tell that you're doing little less. So when your manager says that, do it in 3 days, you'll be like, okay, I'll do it in 3 days, and you try to do it in 2.5, right? So that way, like, you put a stronger barrier or a boundary for yourself, right? But you don't oversell what you're selling. So the last thing I would say is like what Vika just said, be yourself, right? Be humble, be kind, be beautiful inside and out. And then the employer or the interviewer would see that.
Yes.
Like, we need real people to solve real problems. We don't need fake people to solve unnecessary problems. And the true power of innovation comes from seeing things as it is and understanding how things work, and just having the boldness to go and solve them before someone asks you to do that.
Yes.
I think that's the beauty of the Global Shapers community.
Yeah.
Because around the world, you have this huge, massive network of 10,000 people. And whenever you go, no matter whether you know them or not, you're connected instantly. And that's the biggest value of this network.
Yes, always think about what you can do to help other people.
Yes.
Because everybody has a proactive mindset.
Yes, true. Thank you guys so much for sharing.
Sure.
We are running out of time here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that our discussion has inspired our audience just a bit. And looking forward to have more discussions with you guys and also with Global Shapers. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.